So welcome everybody. We're just going to leave about 30 seconds or so just to allow time for everybody to filter in. So just bear with us and we'll get started quite quickly. Okay. I think that looks to be everybody. So we'll get going. So listen, welcome everybody to the fourth in our Xero Masterclass series of webinars. So thank you all for attending, and it's great to see everybody. Such a successful series that we've had for this. In this webinar, this is probably the most interesting and the most powerful of all the webinars that we've done to date, because basically the integration side of Xero is where the magic is, or where the magic happens. This is essentially what clients sometimes ask, why is Xero so good? And yes, it's a good accounting software in terms of its basic functionality, but really it's when you put together that with the integration, it just can provide a much more seamless exchange of information. So getting all your systems working together can really reduce time that you spend on trying to manage your business, and that's time that you can then spend on other sides. So if it's business development or driving sales, or dealing with staff, or whatever the case may be, thinking of new services, industries, products, and that's really, you want to spend as little time in terms of keeping track of things, and maybe a bit more time to kind of grow in the business and things like that. So that's really where the power of Xero and apps like it come from. As always, please feel free to ask any questions throughout. We'll do our best to go through. Sometimes we don't have enough time, but we'll see how we get on. But feel free to ask them, and we'll come back to you afterwards if we don't get time. As always, we'll send out a copy of the slides afterwards, so don't worry about taking any notes or anything like that. And there will be a recording available if you do miss anything. If you have any specific questions about your business as such, or how Toast could assist in that, please feel free to visit our website. There's a lot of information there, and from there you can book a free confidential consultation. So it's completely free. Kind of explain the services or how it might help your business. And then obviously if you follow us on all the various social media channels that you have, I'm pretty sure we have everything now: Instagram, TikTok quite recently, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. So feel free to follow us on that. Just by way of an introduction, I'm sure if you've been following the Masterclass series, you're aware of who the both of us are now, but just for those of you who haven't, my name is Michael Rutherford. I'm a partner with Toast. Previously qualified with a degree in computer science, and then went on and qualified as a chartered accountant after that. Predominantly, I would try and assist clients with kind of their business processes and improving the efficiency, time that they're taking on particular aspects, seeing if kind of technology can assist, make things a bit simpler, but more streamlined for them. And we also have our resident Xero certified expert, Daniel Doran. So currently training to become an accountant with us, and knows all things Xero. So good to have with us today. Without further ado, we'll get started on that. So I'll pass over to Daniel, and we'll kind of swap between as we go through things. But as I said, feel free to ask any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. Daniel, take it away.
Thanks very much, Michael. So in today's webinar, we'll introduce you to a variety of apps that integrate with Xero. So the apps being the Dext software, PayPal, Stripe, GOcardless, Squarespace, Planday, Dear Inventory, and Float. The reason that we're presenting this webinar today is because we feel that every business owner these days should be thinking about automating their finance, if they haven't already. Yep. And it's simply the way times are moving, and you want to get ahead of the game now while you can, because the time's going to come whenever it's absolutely mandatory to be operating on a cloud accounting software. and at that time you don't want to still be using an Excel spreadsheet to manage your finances. So you want to get ahead of the game now and get your business started with a cloud accounting software. And the cloud accounting software that we use is obviously Xero. So today, as I say, we'll show you the different apps that we have chosen to demonstrate that integrate with Xero. And I'll just head on over to the next slide here now, which is on Dext. We'll not cover too much time on these slides because we want to actually spend more time on demonstrating the integration between the apps and Xero. So Dext, it's a cloud accounting software that's mainly used as an expense tracker. It allows you to upload photos of your invoices and receipts on the go. Once they're uploaded to Dext, then the software will work its magic by extracting almost 100% of the data in an accurate way. And the chart of accounts and Xero as well are synced with Dext, so it ensures that all expenses are being categorized accordingly. Being able to use Dext as an expense tracker and have all your invoices and receipts stored digitally, it's inevitably going to reduce the amount of time spent on the financial side of the business, and then allowing you to focus on the day-to-day running of the business.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, then it has the potential to increase productivity, profitability, and make the business more powerful with better data and insights. So the next app is PayPal. PayPal is a service that lets you pay, it lets you send money, and it also lets you accept payments, all without having to enter a single piece of financial information each time. So it's secure as well, since the service uses a 24/7 data encryption and anti-fraud technology. The payment solution allows you to accept card payments on your website or marketplaces like Etsy and eBay. And your customers can even use the PayPal checkout by credit or debit card without ever having to set up a PayPal account. So when I begin showing how PayPal integrates with you, it can be seen to be set up as an account to receive sales income and then shown as a payment service, which would be relevant for those who raise their invoices on Xero. The next app to introduce you today is called Stripe. This is another service provider as well, so it allows you to pay with your credit and debit card too, and it also allows you to pay with mobile wallets such as Apple Pay and Google Pay. It's also a safe service provider as it encrypts all customers' personal financial information, meaning that they aren't able to view credit card numbers and that without taking further steps. In terms of the integration between Xero and Stripe, it basically works in a similar way to how the integration works between Xero and PayPal.
Yep.
And the final slide before hand over to Michael is on GOcardless. So GOcardless is also an online payment solution that allows you to set up direct debits to receive payments from your customers. It's good in the way that it has the ability to collect payments from over 30 countries. So no matter where your customers are based, you're going to be able to receive those recurring payments with the best possible exchange rate. In terms of the integration between GOcardless and Xero, the service provider also allows you to set up as a payment service so that your customers can then make a payment directly from the invoice that's been issued to them. But as I say, it's mainly used for customers that you want to set up a direct debit with. And then being able to collect the payments in this way means that it's going to increase efficiency within the business, and it will decrease the number of days that sales are outstanding.
Yeah.
So I'll pass it over to Michael here now, and he'll continue giving an insight to the next few apps.
So thanks very much, Daniel. So as you kind of see there, PayPal and Stripe are quite similar, and they're more kind of taking one-off kind of card payments as such, whereas GOcardless is more if you have a recurring payment model. So if it's £50 per month per client, you can actually call that payment on a regular basis and you don't have to worry about it. If you're currently billing it and you're having to send the invoices yourself every month, it can be a very time-consuming task and your risk of missing. So GOcardless can take the pain out of that for any recurring transactions. So just to make the differentiation between the two, because they are quite similar. Squarespace is, I'm sure most people have heard of Squarespace if you're in the e-commerce side of the industry. And basically it provides a number of different things. So it's inventory management, website building, and then it acts as a payment gateway. So essentially Squarespace will integrate with Xero exactly the same way Daniel's just explained in terms of PayPal and Stripe. So any payments that are made on your website will automatically just filter through into Xero, so you can keep track of your sales in both places, and it's easy then to match up with So we'll kind of talk a bit more about how you actually match it up then. But basically, it's a fairly similar method of integration to PayPal and Stripe. However, there's a fair bit more that Squarespace offers. It's not just a payment service provider. It's also, as I said, a website builder and stock management. The next one is Planday, which we'll go through in a bit more detail, like Daniel was saying, but it's essentially a method of kind of reducing the amount of time that you're spending on employee schedules. And so we'll go through that in more detail. So it can be a very time-consuming task to actually manage, especially if you've 10 staff trying to actually get the rotas correct and the timings, and then keeping track of did they actually show up? Did they show up on time? Did they leave? Did they leave early? And it can do things like holiday requests and things like that. So we'll come to how it actually saves that. But again, this is the power of Xero, because this can then integrate to payroll. So if they didn't work the Friday that they were supposed to, that information then automatically feeds through to payroll. Obviously, depending on your business, if they didn't show up on Friday, maybe they don't get paid. So that saves you time having to just match all that information up. It can actually automatically bring it over to Xero. Deer is a very, very powerful platform. Now, it's very difficult. It'll be very difficult for us to explain exactly how much this can bring to a business, particularly a manufacturing business or a wholesaling business. But basically, it does end-to-end stock management. So whatever your purchases are, what your sales are, it can actually take the pain out of trying to track, right, okay, how much did we order last month? How much do we currently have on hand of all particular items? So if you have a lot of different products and your sales are growing quite rapidly, it can become very, very difficult to keep up with demand and actually keep track of what you have in stock. Maybe you're certain stuff you're holding too much of. So it can really take the pain out of that. And then once sales are made, it'll actually reconcile, okay, we had 50 of those yesterday, we sold 20, we now have 30 left. So it can give you real-time information like that. So it can it can help predict. The other thing then in terms of your suppliers, it can mean that the suppliers can actually go straight to this rather than actually having to ring you and say, okay, your bills, what do you actually need to order this month, or how much do we still have to fulfill with you? So there's a gateway or a portal that your suppliers can use in that. But again, we'll come to it in a bit more detail. Finally, Float, very, very powerful tool. One of the most key issues for any business, obviously, is cash. So what Float does is take the information that's contained within Xero and it projects it forward. So it'll look at your kind of sales over the last kind of 6 to 12 months and go, okay, consistently you're making $5,000 a month, consistently you're spending $3,000 a month. This is how your bank balance will look over the coming 12 months. So you can see how things change. The real power of it is if you have a business decision to make, you can actually model that and say, okay, if we hire another employee, can we actually afford it over the next 12 months? Is the cash balance going to run to a dangerously low level? So you can do what if scenario analysis like that, and it can help with those business decisions so that you may be a bit unsure. You put it in, you look at it and you go, actually, do you know what? We can afford to do that. It's no problem, and actually it'll potentially result in higher sales. So it's a very powerful thing, and it makes it quite straightforward to do. So I'll just jump over to Daniel now. He can do a demo of Dext, and then we'll move on to the other apps quite quickly. Thanks, Daniel.
No worries. Thank you very much, Michael. Right, so if you want to upload an invoice or a receipt of an expense you've incurred on Dext, then you'll click on Add Documents here at the top of your screen. You'll be presented with 4 different options to upload the invoice. So your first one is, say for example, you already have the PDF of the invoice saved on your PC, then you'll just select the file, or you can drag the file. Your second option is to connect to suppliers. So there's a thing called Invoice Fetch, where you can connect to the different suppliers that you're your incurring expenses from. So, for example, you have an Amazon account that you're you're purchasing on expenses from. Then once you make the purchase, it's automatically going to send the invoice onto Dext.
So it's
And
just
then,
a real-time connection between your Amazon account. So as you spend on it, it'll bring the spend back into Xero for you or through
so
Dext.
it saves you having to upload the invoice yourself too. Like, and then the third option is send it through email. So whenever you set up with Dext at the start, you'll receive two different email addresses, one for single and one for multiple. So
Okay.
say you just want to upload the one invoice, you'll obviously use the single email address.
Okay.
And then maybe if you want to upload 20, 30 invoices at the one time, then you'll use the multiple email address. And then your last option is the Snap-on mobile. So this is probably the one that most people use, and it's probably the most handiest. It just involves downloading the Dext app. So if you have an Apple product, you'll get it on the App Store, and if you have a Samsung, for example, you'll get it on the Google Play Store. And then it just simply involves taking a photo of the invoice and uploading it through the app. So that's probably the most efficient way, the most way people use that. So I'll show you here now how to actually publish an invoice from Dext onto Xero. From here on, it's just example purposes. So
this is basically somebody's either taken a picture of this, sent it to the email account, or it's brought it through automatically.
The app, maybe. Yep.
Okay.
So on the left-hand side, you'll see the actual invoice itself. And then on the right-hand side is the item details that Dext has extracted from the invoice. And as I mentioned there earlier on there, that it usually gets about 99% of the data correct. So you'll see there that it's picked up, it's an invoice. It's got the date, the supplier name, the invoice number, and as I also mentioned earlier there too, the chart of accounts is synced from Xero to Dext. So 99% of the time it's going to pick up on the expenses incurred and categorize it accordingly.
Okay. So if it was an invoice from Facebook, it can automatically post it to, I don't know, marketing,
advertising or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So then you'll have your description then too of depending on the expense incurred. So the amount then too, it's picked up that it's in pounds. It's got the total right. The tax rate never usually is there. No, you'll have to pick that yourself, or else leave it to your accountant, obviously. And then the payment. So if you're happy enough to just publish that onto Xero, then you just click on awaiting payment. Whereas maybe if you want to review it again within Xero, you'll leave it to awaiting approval, and then you can double check that everything's it's correct on Xero. So we know that that's all right there now, so we can click on awaiting payment and we'll publish that onto Xero. So we'll head over to the Xero demo company now, where hopefully it has picked up as a match for one of the statement lines on Xero, which it has. So if you're happy enough that that's a correct match, then you can just reconcile that with one click of a button.
Okay, so just hold on a second. So just on the left hand side, that's what?
That's the statement line from your bank statements.
Okay, so that's a payment you've made out of your bank.
Yep.
And then the right side,
it's a match for that invoice then that's been pulled from Dext onto Xero.
Okay.
So then that can be reconciled with one click of a button, then by clicking OK if you're happy enough that that's a match.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and reconcile that there now.
Yeah.
And then Dext can also be used for monitoring your sales as well. So it works the same way. You can upload your sales invoices using the same way. So like your email address or through the app, etc. And then you can also use it for expense reports as well. So maybe if you've incurred an expense through your own money, then you want reimbursed, then you can create an expense report then on Dext by uploading the invoice or receipt, and then you'll pull that onto Xero the same way.
Okay. Just a question. So if you have an invoice, so it's one PDF and 50 different invoices, can you just push that through Dext as one PDF?
If it's one PDF.
So it's one PDF, but there's 50 invoices within it?
Oh, yeah. You can upload that as one.
That.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, just a question we got there. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it for Dext there now. So do you want to take it from here on PayPal?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
I can stop sharing there now.
Okay, so it is quite difficult to demo some of this because you actually need physical bank accounts, and then obviously we can't show some client information. So we'll proceed with screenshots on this. But like Daniel was explaining previously, PayPal is a payment services gateway. So if you issue an invoice to a client, traditionally now you say you issue the invoice by email. They then maybe have to come back to you and go, how can we pay you? What's your bank details? And so there's a bit of an exchange there, and sometimes it can be, inconvenient. Somebody's maybe doing that at 11 o'clock at night. They're catching up on some of the payments that they have to make. So it's maybe not that convenient, and that can actually delay getting payments back into your account. Whereas with Xero, if you link PayPal or Stripe or any of the examples that we're using, you can actually offer this pay now option that you can see here. So you can link it to your PayPal account, or you can pay with a credit card. So that'd be something like Stripe. PayPal could do the same thing. So either or, you can offer payment services where if your client or your customer is sitting down at 11 o'clock at night, you don't have to be in the office. Doesn't matter where you are. They can click pay now, and they'll be sent through, and they can pay it with their credit card. So this £1,350 invoice that's outstanding, you can actually get it. So it just really improves both your credit control in terms of issuing invoices, but actually being paid for them, but how convenient it is for your customer as well. So it really can improve that. From there, that obviously that payment will come straight into your PayPal account. So the customer will go through the payment process as they normally would. If they have a PayPal account, they can set it up, and or they can just pay with a debit or a credit card, kind of without having to set up an account. That'll then come through, payment successful, paid £1,350 while you were sleeping or whatever. And then as Daniel had said there in Xero, it'll actually match it off and kind of go, okay, Foxglove Cafe bought something for £1,350 off us. It was 10 kilogram coffee beans, and that's actually been paid. So it'll then appear similar to what Daniel has just showed within Dext. So you'd have a payment amount coming into your bank account of £1,350 or your PayPal account, and you'd then be able to match it off against that invoice and go, okay, Foxglove, we sent them 5 bags of coffee beans, £1,350. They've now paid us for that, and you can just match that off straight away. So it's really time saving. You don't have to actually manually go through and go, right, what's that payment for? Where was that again? It's all within the one screen. So you simply click OK on that, and that's it. So Foxglove will no longer get any reminders about that they owe us £1,350, and for you, money in the bank. So it's excellent time saving on that side. Squarespace works exactly the same. The screenshots aren't maybe as good, but as I said, Squarespace do inventory management, but also payments. So exactly the same thing. So if somebody orders, I don't know, a £95 pair of earrings from your website, they can just go through automatically and pay on your PayPal, and that'll go straight into Xero then, and you can see sale from the website, 11 o'clock on Tuesday evening, and we got paid same day on that. Slightly different because it's an instant payment, but you can see the value there, I suppose. Again, quite similar to PayPal. Stripe is exactly the same. So it's exactly the same as PayPal. It just offers more options. So some people prefer Stripe to PayPal. It's a personal preference. But again, you link it exactly the same way. So if you issue an invoice to a customer, you can link your Stripe account to it. They can pay it there and then. So exactly the same thing, setting up a credit card payment. Very, very straightforward to connect. So it would take Daniel maybe 5 minutes if you were really if you were really taking your time doing it and making sure everything was correct. But that's simply you can offer online payments within 5 minutes, and it really can improve your credit control on that side. Again, exactly the same process as with PayPal. You can just match off the transactions. So I'll not maybe spend too much more time on that one. The last one that we explained, it is a similar payment service to the likes of Stripe and PayPal, but GoCardless would be more for recurring transactions. So if you have a contract with somebody to say that we'll provide services for £50 per month indefinitely, what you can do is set up with GoCardless that they can just set up a direct debit. So here they would just click pay with direct debit. You would set it up on your invoice quite simply the same way. Again, 5 minutes tops to set that up. And then the customer would be presented with a screen like this. So they would enter their business details, their bank account that they want that to come out of, and just click set up direct debit. Again, if it took a customer 5 minutes to do that, I'd be surprised. But that would mean then that you would get that £50 every month that you're providing those services until you actually cancel it. Again, GoCardless and Xero talk to each other. So once you stop issuing the invoice, it'll stop the actual direct debit being called. Just another question. So can you see the actual invoices that posted via Dext and Xero or QuickBooks? So yes, you can. So it'll actually attach itself to the actual transaction. So the 1350, say for instance, that foxglove, if you put that invoice through Dext, would have a document, and you can actually just preview any of that. So if that is your suppliers, or what invoice did we pay, and it's 12 months later, and you're looking at the transaction going, I'm not actually sure what that was, you can actually click on it, it'll bring up the invoice and you go, oh, that's okay, that's what we ordered 30 bags of coffee beans, whatever the case is. What I would say on that is Xero do provide a similar service called HubDoc, which is free. However, the match rate on HubDoc is not really as good as Dext. As Daniel was explaining there, it's a 99% match on Dext. Now, I have never really come across an instance where it didn't really pick up anything. What it tends to have an issue with is if it's handwritten and it's very badly scrawled. Things like Amazon invoices and kind of electronic digital PDFs and things like that, it has no problem with. But if it's handwriting, it can be a bit more problematic. But essentially all that happens is that it takes slightly longer and somebody looks at it. It has to be really bad for Dext not to be able to match it. And that's really where Dext is slightly better than HubDoc. A fair assessment, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many have you had rejected?
Too many. See that question that just came on there. Can I just show that quickly?
Yeah.
Can we see the actual invoice next to the bank or PayPal, etc.?
Yeah.
I'll just share my screen here.
So we're running slightly over here, but we'll try and get through it as quick as we can.
Yeah. So I think what you mean there is, can you actually view the invoice next to the bank statement line? You can. So we'll use this one as an example here. So if we click on Find and Match, you'll be able to click on that invoice there, and it'll bring up the invoice itself there. So you can click on it and view the invoice next to the bank statement line, I think is what you're asking.
I think, is it not that if it goes through Dext, can you actually see the invoice once? Do you know the invoice? So the one for the demo company that came through there?
Yeah, that's already been reconciled, so it would have to be to actually show that. I'll have to unreconcile it. I'll see if I can do that quickly here.
It's the pressure with live demos, Daniel.
Too much, eh? Right, so this one here. Right, so there we go. So this is the one you're on about then, so you can click on that.
Yep.
And see it there, yep.
Yeah, and then if you click the attachment,
then you click on the attachment image, yep. And there you have it there.
Yep. There you go. Thanks for the question. You can do that. Just because of time, I'm gonna just keep going, if that's all right, Daniel.
Yeah, work away.
You stop sharing there for a second. I'll redo it. Okay, so the last three. So, like we were saying, this is employee management. So this is called Planday, and basically what you can do is automate your scheduling, or kind of make it a bit easier for your employees to do. So it probably depends on how many employees you have, but I'm sure if you have kind of anything +3, you understand that it can be a bit difficult to kind of say, right, you're working Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and you're doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this can make it a bit easier to do. You can set up templates, so if there are recurring schedules and things like that. But the beauty of it then is that your employees can then see everybody's schedule, your schedule, the schedules that have been set up for the employees if you want them to. But then once they actually start their shift, so they arrive, say at, I don't know, a couple of minutes to 1, and they start shift, and that then records that, yep, they were scheduled to work from 1 to 9 on Friday, and they actually showed up, they were on time, they punched in, and then it'll give them a reminder at 9 o'clock just that they need to clock out, so that you can keep track of the time. The reason why it's really, really powerful is that then will feed through to Xero. So in terms of, or whatever payroll software that you might use. So we had, I don't know, Olivia there. She worked her entire shift. She gets £25 a day. So that then the £25, so it'll say, okay, £25 times 4, £100 she should get for this week, or whatever the case is. So that it means that you don't actually have to do anything with that, and it'll highlight where they turned up late or they didn't show up for their shift. Other things, very, very quickly, if Paul wants to swap with Frank, he can do that within the app, and they can swap about the shift. So if he says, listen, can you do Tuesday for me and I'll do Wednesday for you? Listen, no problem. Easy to do within the apps. They can message each other if there's any problems. So in this instance, there's an issue with the backdoor alarm, so they can go through with that. So as you can see, it offers quite a lot of different functionality. And basically, it keeps everybody on the same page, as opposed to WhatsApp groups and things like that trying to coordinate all your staff members. Their inventory, as I said, is a very complicated, or it's not very complicated, but there's a lot to it, is what I mean. But it's an inventory management system, so it really can keep track of what's selling well, and keep you right in terms of, right, actually we're coming to low levels of stock and that we'll need to reorder it, and it can do things in relation to lead time. So if it's going to take you 14 days and you're currently selling more, and within 14 days you're going to run out, it can help you with planning on your stock management. But it can also keep track of, if you have a website and you have various different products, it can keep track of all the products. So how many different watches do we have in particular sizes, how many shirts, how many, small, medium, large, all that. It can do all that sort of stuff, and then offers the payment gateway as well. So if somebody comes in and buys 20 shirts, it'll then go, okay, we had 30 shirts yesterday, somebody purchased 20 today, we now have 10 left. And then you can set particular levels to, should we reorder, and things like that. This is a bit where it's a lot more powerful. Let's say if you have 5 products that go and are made into one, so if you're a manufacturing outfit, it can keep track of all that for you. And again, on lead times, how long it's going to take to do that, so that you can actually keep track of your production aspect of it. So that then will feed through into Xero. So any purchases that you make, any sales that you make, so it'll drive all that through it. And that's why you're saying is Xero is a great product in its own right. It's excellent to keep track of your financials, but the power really of it really comes in whenever you start adding things like this on around it, and it can make your ecosystem of systems all talk to each other, and can make things a lot more seamless. If you're trying to duplicate information from one spreadsheet to another, firstly, it's horrendously time consuming, but secondly, the accuracy will go down, because if you're doing it and it's monotonous, the chances of you making a mistake are obviously a lot higher. So it really adds that the systems can talk to each other. Finally, again, quite quickly, because I know we're over time, so apologies, folks, but the final app that we wanted to show you is called Float. Now, obviously, with any business, the cash flow and the cash aspects of it are probably the most important to any business. So Float assists with that. So yes, it'll look at how the business has been performing over the last 6 to 12 months. So what's the recurrent sales been like? What's the recurrent spend been like? And then it'll kind of project that forward. So it'll use the information, say from Stripe, PayPal, and GOcardless, and kind of say, look, your sales are growing at this rate. So if that continues out through September, October, November, December time, this is how the cash balance is looking like. The difference between the two lines, so the black line is the actual performance. So for April, May, June, July, that was the actual performance in 2021. And obviously this screenshot was taken sort of mid-July 2021. So what it's then doing is then projecting forward and saying, okay, there's a bit of a dip in August, so we might need to do something there to try and improve that cash. But then after that, the blue line seems to go up. But again, the most powerful aspects of it are actually the green line. So what you can do is do what's called scenario analysis. So at the top there, you'll see scenario analysis, and that's the green. Basically, that's projecting if we lose a particular client, what impact would that have on cash? So say, for instance, somebody rings you someday and says, do you know what, that client's going out of business. You're not going to have them for much longer. And you're kind of worried about that, you can actually project it forward and go, all right, what impact is that going to have in the business? So it can make you much more proactive in terms of your business to say, okay, we lose that client, but we need to make some adjustments so that we bring this green line above the zero. So obviously that you don't run out of cash. It's very, very straightforward to use. So it comes like, this. So you can set up budgets actually as well. So we're budgeted to make 20,000 sales. We actually made 20,870. Great. Plus 4%. And you can set those on a month-to-month basis. You can see how you're performing against that. Likewise, we were budgeted to spend 2,000 in marketing, we actually spent 6,000. So you can actually look and kind of go, right, why did that happen, and make adjustments for that. Finally, you can do the scenario analysis. So very similar to the first one I just showed you. If we hired a new employee to solve the loss of client problem, how would that factor in? So if it's maybe somebody on the sales or on the road to try and promote sales, how would that actually factor in? What boost would that give to us? And there you see in the yellow line, that's how that would potentially work out. Apologies for rushing through that, but I was conscious of time. I hope that was very useful to show actually the power that Xero can have when you actually integrate it with the other apps in the marketplace. That's a small selection of apps that are available within Xero. So the Xero Marketplace provides thousands of different connections or integrations like that. So no matter what your business is, if it's property rentals or property construction or renewable energy or anything like that, there'll be an app that can potentially assist your business and make it just that bit more efficient. So whatever the problem or the issue is that your business potentially has, it can be a very valuable resource to try and solve those issues. Apologies that we didn't get to any more questions. Again, as I said, we're kind of pushed for time. Just finally from ourselves, if I just kind of quickly go through what Toast offer. So Toast provide our full service accountancy practice. So we do income tax registration, annual accounts, payroll, VAT, bookkeeping, self-assessment. We do all range of services if you need assistance with cash flow forecasting. Basically, what we do is we're always upfront and honest about how much it's going to cost. So it's a monthly price. This is what it's going to be. If you want this service, you'll be able to see in granular detail how much each of those services will be for every month. It'll depend on the complexity of your business, obviously, and then you can see that ahead of time and decide if it's right for you. Professional outfit quality. We're regulated by Chartered Accountants Ireland, so obviously all qualified and regulated in that instance. The big difference, or the big thing, is that the services that we provide will give you real-time access to your information. So as you'd see there, maybe from Xero, as you make a sale, that'll come through. You'll be able to see how you're performing day to day. Whereas in traditional accountancy, it's not always possible. It might be 12 months after the year end that you actually find out, how many sales did we do in 2021? by which stage your business is maybe quite a bit different than what it was. And we cover a wide range of industries. So we have clients in all different areas of the economy. So we've quite a lot of experience in that. Just one final question before we go. HubDoc or Dext, which is best? The actual answer to that probably is HubDoc is free and Dext is £5 per month. The reason why it's £5 per month, in my opinion, is because it's much more accurate than what HubDoc is. HubDoc will probably improve over time, but it's just the match rate that Dext has is much higher. So it really depends on your own business. If the match rate is really important to you, it's maybe worth spending the additional £5 per month to actually have Dext. But HubDoc is quite a good product. So maybe the match rate is not essential for you, or you do business with only Amazon or Facebook, or there were digital PDFs that aren't really hard to read. HubDoc will probably work perfectly fine for you. So it really will depend on your own business in terms of the volume and kind of the quality that your invoices come in. So it really depends on your business, but they're both quite good products. It just depends on how your business is structured. As I said, if you ever want us to give any particular advice on anything, please feel free to go to the website and book a consultation, and obviously follow us on all our social media channels. We post kind of useful tips and tax advisory. So if you have any questions, you can go to our website and book a consultation if you need to. But listen, again, apologies for running over, and thank you very much for your time, everybody.